We are the OG in the fourth waves. Silence is golden. But we're not silent no more. We are the OG in the fourth wave. Silence is golden. But we're silent no more. Hey, we do not kneel, marching to our own tune. Dodging and ducking loose. Get out of my way. You see the wheel has turned, the fourth wave's on its way. Running wild on the hill, man, I can tell you that bird sure can fly. Waving the fourth wave freak flag, you better let it fly. We are the OG in the fourth wave. Silence is golden. Silence no more. We've broken the curse. So you can take your bag of tricks. Won't be silent again. My wings won't be clipped. You be you and I'll be me. We are the OG in the fourth wave. Silence is golden, but we're not silent no more. Hey, we do not kneel, marching to our own tune. Dodging and ducking loons, get out of my way. Yeah, see the wheel, it has turned. The fourth wave's on its way. Running wild on the hill, man, I tell you, that bird, it sure can fly. Waving the fourth wave freak flag, you better let it fly. We are the OG in the fourth wave. Silence is golden. Silence no more. We've broken the curse. You can take your bag of tricks. Won't be silent again. My wings won't be clipped. You be you and I'll be me. We are the OG in the fourth wave. Silence golden, but we're not silent no more. Hey, we do not kneel. March to our own tune. Dodging and ducking loose. Get out of my way. See the wheel has turned. The fourth wave's on its way. Running wild on the hill, man. I tell you that bird, it sure can fly. Waving the fourth wave freak flag. You better let it fly. We are the OG in the fourth wave. Silence is golden. Silence is golden. Silent no more. We've broken the curse. You can take your back tricks. Won't be silent again. My wings won't be clipped. One more while everyone piles in. Yeah, there we go. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. There's no troubles here. Like a light on a train, southwest bound. Time stop running, let the rain wash it away. Gotta walk the line, no more fines. Gonna walk the line, sing a song of long ago. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. We're gonna start on Ghost Bear time. No, I'm not man in the moon. That has the sound so profound. Man with the sound so profound to be found. A little bit never hurt no one. A little bit never hurt no one. Go for the show. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. Just need a scarecrow to scare the children. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. There's no troubles here. Like a light on a train, south windbound. Time to stop running, let the rain wash it away. Gotta walk the line, no more fines. Gonna walk the line, sing a song long ago. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. Well, where we start our Ghost Bear time. No, I'm not the man in the moon that has the sound. Sounds so profound, man, with a sound. So profound to be found. Hail, Toxic Man. A little bit never hurt no one. Go for the show. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. Just need a scarecrow to scare the children. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. There's no troubles here. Like a light on a train, southwest bound. Time to stop running, let the rain wash it away. Gotta walk the line, no more fines. Gotta walk the line, sing a song long ago. Welcome to the Ghost Bear Show. Well, now. Ah, there's the man himself right there. There he is. Ah, there's FinalDeathStar. So how you guys doing? Gotta have a good old intro like that. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you got this, crazy pink elephant stuff going on, all that, and, crazy shit. And I've been, hey, Keck44, how you doing, man? How you doing? I've been spending a lot of time in Stargate SG-1. I've been watching Stargate Atlantis. And, and I ran across Utopia. I've heard a thing or two here and there about it, and man, it's just absolutely mind blowing. It's about basically the world coming to an end, basically in this comic book, and the bad guy, believe it or not, is referred to as Mr. Rabbit, and it's the stuff. It's one of the in the show. It's based. The first episode is based about them going to Comic-Con with this rare manuscript.
One of a kind.
Yeah, one of a kind.
A
rare
sequel.
Manuscript. The sequel that was never released. The sequel to Dystopia. Apparently, there was a Dystopia comic in that world that came out, and
it foretold disease.
Yeah, it foretold pandemics and stuff like that, and it was just just amazing details that was in this episode. It was just blowing me away. It had cause girls.
It had a lot of stuff, yeah.
It had quite a few cause girls.
Yeah.
But this episode basically.
Hey! Before we get started, I need to ask.
Sure.
You guys aren't with Harvest, are you?
No, we walk in the white light, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because I just watched the first episode, but there's a lot in there. There's so much in there.
I guess I'm going to be the newbie or the normie or whatever you want to say for this, because I am unfamiliar with this, so it's an educational stream for me, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get together one of these days, Shellback, and we'll see who wants to get together, and we'll have a little watch party.
Yeah, the the art style of this Dystopia and Utopia comics, I think Donnie Darko, right?
Yes, exactly. A lot like Donnie Darko, the movie.
Yeah.
Donnie Darko, wasn't that originally a graphic novel?
Yes, I believe it was. And it's kind of the same concept where it's the demon thing is the rabbit. It's even drawn kind of demonically.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even think I saw Donnie Darko, but
Well, there was an article that came out about this series, and it's saying what a couldn't have been a worse time for it to come out. And
well, because of the pandemic, I guess.
right.
But you know, they were remaking
but
the
they did.
Stand. They're remaking the Stand right now.
Well, if you look,
right.
I think they had this made already in the can at least over a year ago, at least a year and a half ago. This stuff was already done. I think maybe they were just doing the editing and the finishing touches and stuff like that. Because
And I already had it in my watch list when you let me know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard about it and all that. And so
there's just not that much good stuff new out there right now.
There really isn't. I'm gonna watch the Boys. I'm gonna start on season 2. I haven't started on that yet. I finished.
It was okay. But I didn't read the comics either, so.
I didn't read the comics either, and I kind of like the Boys. It's okay. There's some moments that is kind of SJW like, you know.
Yeah, I think we're oversensitized to that now.
Oh, big time. And it's like, and I don't have to like everything in a TV show. Hey, Christy, how are you? What are you doing?
It's like the
that
it's like that scene on Tropic Thunder or whatever, you know, and he's like, "You people," and he's like, "What do you mean, you people?"
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just so pervasive now that we're so sensitive to when it does show up. I mean, you can go back in the 80s and watch movies and go, "Oh, there's an SJW moment." They're there, but we weren't nearly as sensitized to it as we are now. But it's always been that way because creatives, when you let creatives go too far, they will. They will, and there's been the progression of comic book heroes is completely the fault of people like Moore.
Right. Yeah.
And he's the first one to bitch about it too.
In episode 1, John Cusack doesn't come into play, I don't think. Yeah, but it's the next episode where they show him.
Yeah.
So are we talking?
I think in the intro, they show him.
That's Utopia. That's a guy who has a lot of range.
Yeah, he does. But I've been noticing lately that John Cusack has been playing some really creepy,
out there,
evil guys.
Well, that's the drug use, man. That's the drug use.
Yeah.
And you know, he's not in the limelight anymore, so they're having to. A lot of these mainstream actors are starting to have to explore different types of B roles because there's nothing out there for them to do.
Yep.
I mean, could you imagine John Cusack? I mean, the only thing they're really promoting and making is comic book style movies. Could you imagine? I mean, he tried that with what? Grosse Point Blank, where he was an actions guy, and it didn't really work that well. I mean, these guys are not.
I like Grosse Point Blank.
I did too, but it's campy. You know, that's what he's best at.
I mean, probably my top favorite John Cusack roles was Better Off Dead and Say Anything.
What's up, Bookie?
I honestly think John Cusack should stick to romantic comedies. To be honest, But it's kind of like I watched a show last year on Netflix about post-apocalyptic high school, and it was making fun of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It even had what's his name in it, playing the principal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget what it was called, but basically, some kind of disaster happens, and it turns all the adults into zombies.
What?
And the high school kids, and they even do callbacks to Ferris Bueller, where Ferris Bueller's playing the principal and says a couple of lines that the principal said in Ferris Bueller.
Wow.
And it turns out all the kids are immune because they had the mandatory HPV vaccine, and it made them immune to the zombie flu that everybody else got. So
because they had a mandatory freaking thing, they're okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wasn't the HPV only given the teenage girls?
Yeah, 15-year-olds. Yeah. Well, that's who it was pushed for, and then they eventually said everybody needed to take it. But it makes fun of everything, and it's and that's that. This looks like a darker form of that.
Oh yeah. So basically, let's see here. Our main characters, the main two characters that start out, it's Ethan and Olivia.
Right.
Basically, Olivia inherits her grandfather's house. Now, it shows the scene where it shows these, I would say, the style of houses that were happening after the Victorian era of houses that was being built right around 1900.
Yeah, the little cottage row houses. Cottage row houses.
It reminded me of because in my neighborhood you had big brownstones, and then you had houses like that were in the middle of the neighborhood that was smaller, and the big brownstones lined basically the whole neighborhood, and that neighborhood kind of reminded me of the neighborhood I grew up in Hammond, Indiana. And
obviously her grandfather was a hoarder.
Oh yeah. Door opens, things fall down. He's about to carry her across the threshold because they're just being teenage goofing off, and he doesn't realize you're not supposed to do that unless you get married and stuff like that. They joke about that, and open the door, and a stack of books higher than them falls, and it's the whole place is like that. And I can't help but think about Tommy when he's cleaning out his dad's place, And I'm seeing this, and I'm like, wow, kind of familiar a little bit. It's like, oh, yeah, I know someone that's doing that.
Yeah.
But in their process, her boyfriend, Ethan, finds a comic, finds a couple pages, and she's grossed out by it. You can tell she's a complete and total normie. And completely grossed out. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. This might be something. And so he finds the whole manuscript to Utopia. It's the sequel to Dystopia.
And don't forget, she's like going to school to be something, and he's going to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be a YouTuber. So it kind of sets the tone for this is a guy who's going to be a fake fan to be a YouTuber.
Yeah. And so basically she inherits this house from her grandfather. He makes a discovery, and he's telling her that, hey, we can make some money off of this. And so basically you got these other four characters, technically five, but you see the next four after that. So Ethan finds the comic. He sees dollar signs, of course, you know that. And then there's a scene change, and then you got Samantha. You got Samantha, Wilson, Becky, and Ian. These four people. They only know each other on this private message board that they use, that only they can see when they message back and forth.
And that tells me that this was made a while back, because otherwise it would have been like Zoom or something like that. I think because they had never seen each other's faces.
But keep in mind, these people aren't exactly trusting of other people.
That's true. They do.
That's why they were. That's why they were using the message board.
Yeah, because he asked them all to do a background check.
Wilson, whose name is Wilson, who lives in a house with basically 4 generations of Wilsons living there, basically. So this guy,
direct callback to Tool Time, by the way.
Yeah, this guy is super paranoid. He's got his own self. Him and his dad built a bunker and all that.
But not angry paranoid.
No,
like
not angry at all.
Really, like the polar opposite of what you would think a paranoid person would be. Very, very soft-spoken, but articulate.
And can politely get to the point if he needs.
Yes, politely, without. Yeah. Because I know paranoid people. I like paranoia myself, and they're abrasive people normally. So it's kind of a juxtaposition that he is in. It's a very, very good character.
Yeah, and his character is very likable.
Yes.
Now Samantha, that's a whole different other kind of story, I'd say.
And I need more background on her to really know exactly what she is, because they set up the fact that she's an activist.
Yes, pretty much for environment activist.
But she doesn't seem crazy about it right away.
She's one of the silent leader types.
Yeah.
Like only says something or expresses something if she feels she needs to, and that's the impression I got from her character.
Plus, she believes in action more than protesting, which is a kind of a flag, because she even says that all the protests and everything aren't doing anything. We have to make real changes and do things.
So, in the scene change that happens with Samantha, she's working a job at a cemetery, and they are spraying what I can determine to be basically green food coloring. It's spraying the grass green.
I can speak from experience because I was in the military in Oklahoma, and every January we had to paint the grass. It is actual paint made for grass. It actually has a fertilizer element to it. And every spring before the generals had their big meetings, we got taken off our regular jobs and spent hours upon hours spray painting lawns.
Wow.
So it's an actual thing.
Wow. You know they do it for movies too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's where she gets a text, an alert, and someone lets her know that Utopia is for sale. And it's the manuscript.
So they're going to auction it off.
They're going to auction it off at a Comic-Con-like event. They don't actually say it's Comic-Con, but it's got the feel to it. And it's at a four-star hotel.
Yeah, it's a nice hotel.
Yeah, it's a halfway decent hotel. It's got a decent bar. Huge bar by all means, you know. And
you can tell they got Comic-Con-like events going on.
Yeah, and so they're messaging back and forth about this comic being available. And so these 4 that know each other, they're messaging back and forth. They're making plans, and it's you could tell it's leading somewhere. It's more than what it seems at this point.
So you get the idea, and by this point, you've got the impression that all these kids, and they're in what I would say post-teenager, just about.
20 to 23.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Just post-teenager kids they're poor. One of them's sick. They're poor. A couple of them like each other. But at this point, they start talking about a 5th character named Grant who has money, right? Mm-hmm. And Grant is going to be the money guy who's going to purchase this thing for them. So there is a scene before they all meet up where Samantha does an SJW rant where she talks about how comic books are just stories and they don't mean anything. And how you have to look behind this one particular thing is important because it tells about future problems, and she tries to show what that means, and it makes her look kind of paranoid.
Let's see here. I got part of it here in a quote. Somehow, a group of you fine boy assholes managed to trick the world into believing that comic books were serious fucking literature. And now you all get to sit around and Joseph Campbell the fucking day away on your spoo-stained papazons stewing in the violence, masturbating over the... My notes are bad. My writing.
Yeah, but
it goes on. It's just bad. It's just bad. And that right there tells me that this is the character that is not going to be liked.
Right. And she's probably one of the prettier girls in the show too. They made her like the hot blonde.
And if you notice, she was trying to stop herself from taking control and being leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, she did it several times.
Mm-hmm. And she stopped herself.
Yeah, she did, and that's why.
And that's a very important thing to remember about this series. Her doing that. It will come into play later on.
So maybe that's a setup for a character that we're going to see grow. You know, that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
So yeah, because I wrote some fairly detailed notes for each scene and scene change.
Yeah,
So these two, or this Utopia, right?
Right.
Is supposed to be related to the other show, Dystopia.
Yes.
And from what
it was a graphic novel inside the show.
Yeah. From what I can tell, you know, because I mean, I've been looking stuff up while you guys have been talking. So one show started last year and is still going, and the other show started this year.
Oh, so there's another show that this is a sequel
of. From what I can tell.
Huh.
If they're related.
I don't know.
I mean, because you were told. Well, I mean, I know. Were you talking about like comic books that, you know, like one comic book was Dystopia and then another comic book is Utopia?
Yeah.
Right, but that's within that world.
But they got turned into TV shows, right?
Yeah, that's within that world.
Let me go see if there's a.
That's why I started looking up TV shows, because it's like, and you're talking about John Cusack and stuff like that. So, but I found another show called Dystopia, and it started in 2019, according to IMDb.
All right, so I'm gonna read.
Flynn's the creator.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the Dystopia season 1 information here. It is the year 2037. The world is dying from a virus that has rendered mankind infertile. Not a single child has been born in 25 years. Governments are powerless puppets for the world's biggest corporation, BioCorp. They keep promising a cure that never comes, and a pair of scientists travel back to 2017 in order to change events of their past and prevent the virus from ever existing. Huh.
I'll put a link to that in the private chat.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is a kind of wonky, if maybe they created a comic book in 2017.
Well, there was originally one in the UK. There was the original series was in the UK. This is the American version, just so you know.
That's probably what it is.
Well, what I'm looking at, both shows are on Amazon Prime or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Dystopia has
one season.
Yeah,
it's different creators for Dystopia.
Yeah, it's one season. So I'm not sure if they're related, but
I don't think there is any relation.
But the premise of this is viruses, so the premise
that's
of both.
That's a good catch, because there was originally in England there was the original series.
Yeah.
Utopia. And this is the American version.
The premise does sound very English. You know what I mean?
Right.
Very dry.
They could be telling the story backwards in Utopia.
That's true. That is very true.
They could be getting to the point in Dystopia.
Yeah, but the thing that catches me about this is the characters. You know, like I said, Wilson is very interesting. What's her name? Becky?
Yeah, Becky.
Yeah.
She's the one that has grand mal seizures.
Yeah, and she's very interesting as well. And there's a romantic play between her and Ian. Is it Ian?
Yes. Yeah, Ian.
And she's afraid to tell him that she's sick because he works at an insurance company, and it's very natural. Their byplay, everybody's byplay is natural so far. So like when there's a scene where they all sit down together, the four of them sit down together, and they're drinking, and my son works with a girl. You know, she's got piercings, she's got blue hair, she's very I want to be activist-y, you know?
Right.
And that's the kind of vibe that I got, is a couple of normal nerds, a paranoid guy, and an SJW are sitting around, but they all agree that they have to get a hold of this comic book. And that really grabs you.
Yeah, Wes couldn't be here because he wasn't feeling good tonight. That's why there's only 3 of us. To answer your question. But yeah, this series, it does move along, and it is there's a lot of mystery going on. Their goal is basically to save the world from the virus being released.
Yeah, and the antagonist, I guess, is called the Harvest Group, and you get a very creepy couple of guys showing up to kill everybody that's seen any of the pages.
Right. Well,
and you don't know that they're the Harvest Group, but it's kind of hinted at.
It's very much so suggested.
Yes.
Because they're basically dissecting a lot of the images in the comic, and the images they already have, stuff that they already knew, and they're discovering this manuscript, and they want to know all the information because they're figuring it's stuff that hasn't happened yet, that's going to happen, because the other one predicted a whole bunch of things happened, and they reference real pandemics in this series, in this show.
And pandemics that may not have been associated with the United States.
Right.
So keep that in mind as well.
I like
outside of the United States or all around the world, it mentions all those.
I like the
key
graphics.
ones, the big ones.
I like the graphics or whatever that they have for it on that IMDb page, and
for The artwork.
They're all riding on that carousel. Well, except for one girl, but
Yeah.
they're riding on a carousel, and instead of horses, it's rabbits. But but all the rabbits are white. You know. I don't know.
with the red crazy
Yeah.
eyes. Did you know that those rabbits used to be thought of as witches' familiars, and they would kill a white rabbit when it was born, an albino rabbit when it was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's where they messed up on Monty Python's Search for the Holy Grail. You know, they came up on that white rabbit, and they didn't kill him immediately. You know,
Hey Tina, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look, the rabbit in the artwork is very Donnie Darko. It's got that callback.
Yeah, if you've seen the Donnie Darko movies, it's definitely got that vibe about it.
But I love how they make fun of all the cosplayers.
They do.
I mean, there's
Ethan and Olivia. They do. They are fully in the mode of, oh, we're going to make a lot of money off these nerds.
Yeah,
that's the mode they were in.
Yeah,
and,
which there's a lot of YouTubers out there that are posers. You get on channels like this and like Everybody in the Fourth Wave or the Phantom Menace, and like I was saying earlier before we started, I was a huge Marvel fan until I became an adult, and then I became a huge DC fan. That means I don't know everything about everything. So I do talk too much because I'm a storyteller, and there's an old saying that storytellers don't know when to shut up, and writers can't shut up. But I try to listen to people like
I'm a little of both.
So
what's that tell you about me?
Yeah, I try to listen to people like Ethan and Jeremy and Ryan. Ryan and Lethal Lightning are probably the biggest experts on the EU. Them and OG Star Wars. They know EU, and I grew up EU. EU was I got it as it was coming out, so I know that I don't know a lot of this stuff. What I do know is how to write, and I put that on my channel, and how characters are created, how worlds are built, and I have a series on how to create a story and a story that was created using it. So that's the proudest thing I am of anything that I've created, because if a guy goes on there and goes, man, I don't know what I can do for Christmas because, times are tough. I haven't been working. The Democrat or whoever refuses to sign the stimulus package, whatever. I have no money. But you know what? You can write a Christmas story to tell your family Christmas Eve. The tools are there, and anybody can use them. Anybody can do that. And that's the thing that I'm the most proud of. And when you have that knowledge and you've done it a few times, even if they're bad stories, it gives you a totally new perspective on these movies and TV shows as you review them. So, you go back and you listen to my review of the best example is the two Sandman reviews I do. You see that I'm coming at it from a mechanical as well as a fan perspective, and not just as somebody listening to it for the first time or a fan of the comic. And I believe that's a perspective, and that's why I'm so proud of that series, is that if anybody walks through that series, takes a couple of days and listens to it, they can sit down and write a story that their kids would love and can become a tradition. Those are the kind of things that I want to change and let people know, hey, you don't have to rely on these goofballs at Hollywood or these goofballs in the publishing industry forcing down your throat everything that you want, right?
What's up, Marketing? How you doing?
Well, it's like I've always kind of been, interested in all this, stuff, sci-fi and fantasy and all that. And, and I'm like you, I've never been a big reader. Okay. I've never been a big reader, but I remember having some of the original, Star Wars books,
Right.
Dark, Dark Force Rising and all that stuff. But and and when I did read, that's what I read. I read those original Star Wars books. That because I love the movies, right? I love the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's like
And
after the mid 1980s, it was like, well, shit, but then, the books started coming out, and you're like, oh my god, but those books, and then the being also into the fantasy stuff, and like medieval type stuff, there was the Dragonlance books, Forgotten Realms.
Margaret Weiss is a friend of mine on Facebook, and we talk all the time. She's actually the director of. Might want to fact check me, but I believe she's still the director of literature at Missouri State. But she's completely. She's also the caretaker of the Dragonlance Foundation. So they actually have a foundation that protects, and I've been, I've gotten the chance, thanks to Ryan and Lethal, to talk to Toby or a couple of the Star Wars authors, and I'm starting to get feedback from people that work in the industry professionally. So. I have 178 subscribers. I get maybe 25, 30 views per video.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not about that. And I try to get everybody else watch hours and things like that, because if I can get one person into writing and creating stories, it's almost like you're tapping into another dimension, right? It's like these stories already exist, and you're just witnessing them.
Right.
And so, if I can get people to write, if I write a story that people enjoy, that's why I'm toying with the idea of not actually publishing my novel, but putting it in episodes on YouTube, and then maybe writing a novel and self-publishing it after.
Yeah.
But it's more about getting my stuff out there. That's why I'll say at the end of every story or anything, hey, if you guys want to stream this and break it apart, go ahead. It's just going to make me better.
Right. But continuing my thought, though, it's like I grew up in freaking BFE, Missouri, right? Okay, it was a farming, basically a farming community,
Right.
And I had to, we had to get in the car and drive 20 miles to go to a movie theater. Okay.
And it probably showed the same movie all weekend, right? One movie all weekend.
Well, it was actually the one we went to. It was a three screen theater. So, but anyway, but there, there was no comic book stores, where I grew up.
Yeah, I had to buy all my novels at the grocery store.
Yeah, but most of my, which they probably had, a very tiny comic book rack, at the grocery store or whatever. But it wasn't like some of the people that we know now, what they've been used to, because
Right. We would get
and-
episode 87, and
Yeah.
then a couple of weeks later, we would get episode 131.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I mean, most of my knowledge, like say 98, 99% of my knowledge, or better, is either from television, TV shows, or the movies. Okay, I am not whatsoever a comic book authority, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I can have a discussion with somebody and they're like, whoa, what? You don't know nothing about the comics, so yada yada. I'm better than you or whatever. And it's like,
I know what I like, and what I like is good characters and good storytelling.
But
I think that's what connects all of us together.
Right. But you're right though about the I guess the inspiration or whatever factor with hanging out with all the people in this community is because I mean, I've had thoughts of things in years past, but here recently I have come up with an idea, and I'm trying to put together I don't know if you want to say comic book or graphic novel, but I'm coming up with something myself.
Right.
And I'm for like the first time, trying to do something like this, and I'm going to be 50 years old next year. So,
Well, and you think about it. Think about it this way: if we ever get anybody with at least average intelligence into Hollywood and the publishing industry, they take one look at this community and they will have fertile storytelling, good storytelling for decades. I mean, just look at the comics that is coming out of Comicsgate. No matter where you land on who your favorite is, or if they're working, or all that mess.
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be them, just independent people in general are coming out with some of the best stuff. I
mean, if we had a Fandom Menace town hall, like had all the big guys show up on a live stream and did a big town hall and invited everybody to pop in and out, we could come up with a story that would blow the socks off of anybody. You know what I mean? Because there's people that care about that kind of thing, where it comes from. And it comes from reality. That's the thing that people don't understand out in Hollywood. That it's fantasy, it's a story, it's wizards in space, there's got to be an overall truth that you hold to. Good storytelling is about telling the truth. You're not going to make something up as a rule and then break that rule 5 minutes later. You can't do it. And unfortunately, the creatives that we have right now and their overseers are just letting them go, okay, yeah, but I know it breaks that rule, but it'll be cool. It'll be cool to see this spaceship go into hyper speed and blow everything else up.
Oh God, please don't. Please don't.
They obviously didn't understand the fact that when they go into hyperspace, a thing opens, they go in and...
But it's cool. But it's cool. It looked cool.
My name is Admiral Ballgown, and I don't have to tell you shit because I'm a woman and you're a man. And
hey, we have to establish that Leia has innate force abilities. What do we do?
God.
Oh, let's fly her through space like a cross between the Wicked Witch in the West and Mary Poppins. That'll be cool.
Oh,
well, it's not a
the biggest flaw in that one. Where's the airlock?
Yeah.
How'd they do that?
Yeah.
Did she use the force and hold back the vacuum, not let the oxygen escape?
No, because she had ice crystals forming on her skin, didn't she? Because that was cool.
Yeah. Which, okay, so all right. So you're in space. You're in space, right? And this, something blows out the damn windows, okay? And so everybody and their uncle is gonna get freaking sucked out into space. And probably not before you get knocked out by the blast, okay? So there you are.
We have to take a moment to say hello to Raquel. Hello, how you doing?
Beautiful lady with a beautiful name.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
But yeah, you were knocked out unconscious, okay, and then you get sucked out into space, where there's no oxygen. Something tells me that even in the fantasy world, you're not going to regain consciousness.
No, otherwise, what's the point of?
There's, which I know in a couple of the animated series, right? You had what was his name, Master Plo Koon or whatever. Yeah. He was out there, breathing just fine or whatever. But then again, he was, he was an alien and he had a freaking thing on his face and everything else, right? That and I think there was a scene where Anakin, was it Anakin or somebody, kind of got sucked out a little bit, but it wasn't because of an explosion, okay? And so they were conscious the whole time, and it was just a different freaking scenario, right? So
you had to make an effort.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole anymore.
So the thing is that the biggest confession I need to make is that when Star Trek came out, the new JJ's Trek came out, there was a guy that worked for me, and he was ranting and raving about how JJ's ruined Star Trek, and I was like, I didn't think it was that bad, and it's kind of brilliant the way he redid it so that you could have all these new stories, blah blah blah, and he's like,
I didn't mind it either.
You wait. You're going to regret saying that. And then I watched The Force Awakens, and I'm like, I owe that dude an apology. Because JJ just ruined Star Wars. And then, I go back and I rewatch it, and I'm like, yeah, he did fuck Star Trek up. And Star Trek was never my thing, though. There for a while, it was the only science fiction on TV I had. So I love The Next Generation, and I love Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and Enterprise. And then Picard just ruined that for me.
Well, I still, which I didn't see. I saw the first two JJ Trek movies. I didn't see the third one, but
it was okay.
And I liked the JJ Trek movies. All right. I probably liked the first one better than the second one. But it's, I don't know. I didn't hate them, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, at least, Enterprise wasn't great the first season until they got their legs under them. But getting back to this Utopia thing, I really like the potential it has. There's some things that kind of worry me about it, but it does have great potential. Would you agree, Bear?
Say it again. My wife was asking me a question.
Oh, Utopia. Just getting back to that. I see some problems on the horizon with some of the characters, but it does look very like it's got a really interesting take that is it, or at least story that's going to happen.
Um, well, there's going to be some things with this show going on, and and remember the rule about alpha characters. Always remember that
Yeah,
there can't be more than one alpha character, whether it's a female or whether it's a male.
yeah,
And I don't cover every single detail about an episode, so that way people can discover stuff for themselves as well.
right,
But
right.
some of the cooler stuff, we will go over that stuff. 'Cause I got some detailed notes, but I don't always go every single detail. But some of the stuff that clicks and really just
Yeah,
goes, wow,
yeah,
wow,
yeah. I
fiction
do,
mirroring reality.
I do tend to talk too much. So, like like I told my ex-wives, if you don't know when to tell me to shut up, that's your problem. So,
So basically, we know that Becky's has grand mal seizures, and she hasn't gotten any detail about the type of grand mals that she has. But evidently, she's got a rare form, and she knows it's going to kill her eventually.
and it's a virus, which is why she's interested in the book. And we should note the fact that the book is just pictures.
The book is pictures, but there is story
There
in the
is
book.
there is story.
There is letterboxed story, like most graphic novels will have. There's not much, but there's enough there for the detail.
Right. I didn't notice any of that in the first episode, just the pictures.
Well, they're going to go into more detail
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
next because I've watched the whole season,
Yeah.
and it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched there was a show on Netflix with Katie Sackhoff, and I watched it because Katie Sackhoff was in it, and it was about aliens. And that was the worst SJW garbage I'd ever watched in my life. But I stuck it out, watched the whole thing.
Now, basically, before they're getting ready to go to this meetup that they're going to have at this Comic Con type event, it's not actually a Comic Con, but it's got the flavors of one. And they're going to meet there, and they're all messaging back and forth on this private messaging board where they can message back and forth and see their replies. And it comes to the scene where Grant is getting ready to leave. They don't know Grant is between the age of 10 and 12 somewhere. They
Yeah.
don't know this. They think he's the money man.
Yeah, they think he's got like I think they mentioned he might be a photographer to the stars or something.
Right. And when he's leaving, he tells them he's taking his Porsche. He got no Porsche. And he must be in the close to the area because he gets there pretty easy.
Yeah, he's just a little kid with a backpack.
Yeah, gets around real easy.
Yeah.
And
Grant's my favorite character so far. The mysterious kid who is smart. Or clever, I should say. He's clever.
I'm not sure at this point. I think it's Wilson. I think Wilson is fascinating. And the scene where Wilson talks with his dad. Now, his dad's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And
that was a great scene.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Beautiful scene. And his dad.
That's how a dad needs to be.
Dad was joking with his kid, and it's like, what? You don't? That was funny. Come on. It was just a funny moment between.
Yeah, he was acting like he was getting on to him for asking for money when he was actually just joking with him.
He was just messing with him a little bit.
And and that's how my dad would have reacted. Geez, you want more money? Oh. I'm like, yeah, but you're a bank, Dad.
Yeah. So that was a pretty
look, my kid thinks I'm a bank. Dad, you got to be a bank too. because that's how banks work. I get a loan from the Fed and give to my kid who doesn't pay me back.
And Samantha actually has kind of a cool moment with her dad. In most TV shows, most dad-father moments sometimes have been lately kind of negative. But
Yeah.
this was pretty positive. They're pretty they were communicating, and he understood her level, and she knew that he understood her level, and it was just one of those cool kind of things.
Yeah, it's pretty balanced. It's pretty balanced.
Yeah.
And there wasn't no mom scenes at all that I recall.
I don't remember any mom scenes actually. Now that you mention that. But
I think we'll get some later on when we get backstory, but
because these are all the scenes that were leading up into the meetup.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was kind of refreshing that there really wasn't anything negative toward fathers.
So what do you think in general this is setting up to be a quest story, an ensemble quest story?
Quest, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And not to give any spoilers away, it's going to get a little messy. But the writing's good. It's good writing. There are some moments that's very it's like Becky has, for example, right after Samantha does the SJW freakout scene, which kind of felt like that to me a little bit.
Forced. It was forced.
Forced, yeah. And it was there's no basically Samantha bashing these guys about their nerddom, and it's one of the scenes
right before she goes and sits down with four of the biggest nerds on the planet.
Right. And then it switches scenes to Becky and Ian talking, and she was stating emphatically she hated the superhero genre, and she didn't really like the alpha male type superhero. She made it very obvious, and she was slightly disdainful, and they don't really. It was that scene was more organic, but it was real fast. They got through it, and then they moved on.
To me, it seemed more realistic because it was more like
that's why I
don't
said
really
organic.
I don't really care for superheroes, but I can put up with them, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was her comment about alphas that like really, well, okay. And
well, I tell you what,
so there's as far as I'm concerned, there was a couple minor negatives to it, but it doesn't take away from the overall story.
I'll tell you what, people don't understand real life, because the minute I start giving in to my girlfriend or wife, that's the minute I end up getting kicked out or cheated on. The minute I stop being an alpha is the minute they go find another alpha. And they can bitch and complain, but the minute you start giving in to every little thing, that's the minute they go looking for something else. That's just been my experience, though. I could be choosing the wrong ones. But that's the thing, is that's what they portray on the screen, is they set it up so that the males will be slightly subservient to the females. They're establishing that we don't believe in alphas here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those two scenes were definitely speaking to that for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It takes all kinds. To make things work and run. Alpha, beta, whatever they are. You got all kinds of personalities to make things click.
Well, you have to. That's my first degree.
You got the gears, you got the grease, and things move along. And sometimes personalities butt heads.
When you come at these things from a writing perspective, that's when, like, I knew I wanted to be a writer since I was a real little kid. So I got my degree in English language arts so that I would know the mechanics of writing. My minor was in psychology so I could understand characters. And then my second degree was in sociology. with a minor in psychology, so that I could understand the societal makeup of world building. And it seems to have worked out for me, but you're right. You have to understand and be able to willingly accept other perspectives in order to write a good story. And unfortunately, right now, everything's set up to be one-sided.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the rebound to that, or the recoil from the bowstring, so to say, will be bank books. They're going to realize the corporates, they're losing their money because people have no interest in watching something poorly written. And poorly
eventually
acted
it'll
out.
get to the point where they have to change it. They won't have a choice.
It's probably going to get to that point here real soon with the times, the pink elephant, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It probably hyper accelerated it, like you were saying in the green room. It's probably some truth in there. Probably hyper accelerate some things along the way, and it's gonna have to make them say, hey, we're either gonna concentrate on making signifying propaganda type shows, or we can actually put some really good acted out, well written stuff.
All right, so I have a prediction, and this is just from anecdotal evidence and what's going on with the pink elephant and everything. But I think Microsoft is trying to position itself, Bill Gates specifically, in order to buy up as much corporate revenue as they possibly can. Hence the $7.1 billion for Bethesda is nothing for Microsoft. They are literally they have the most money of any corporation, if you consider how many subsidiaries they have in the world. They could buy Disney for chump change. And I predict that's Bill Gates is giddy over all this. So that's my personal prediction, is that Microsoft is setting up to take over a lot of different institutions.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not.
That's like,
especially as lax as everyone's been with the antitrust laws.
Well, even with Disney, I mean, that's their borderline monopoly.
Well, I think the monopoly and antitrust laws, I think they need to be tightened down a little bit. Yeah.
Well, they were much tighter 30 years ago, hence the breakup of AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're back together because they found a loophole. Because every single AT&T platform is a subsidiary, so they avoid all the antitrust shit. Same thing with Amazon. Everything Amazon.
It's like McDonald's franchising it.
Yep. You can't go after the corporation for antitrust because they don't technically own everything. They own shares in everything, but they don't own everything. So you can't get them for antitrust. That's how all that works.
Sticky business, that.
Yeah. I got to find a camera that has a lot smaller view area. I can't seem to change it.
Really? Not even if you bring it closer to you?
Well, because of the way it is, I have to set it on top of my. Because I have 3 monitors, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The way I have mine set up, I have I have a very small, narrow table that I made, and I put an old bedpost to it, and I got my camera attached to a bar that's attached to it, and it sticks out, and it's just at that right angle. Yeah. And I can push the little table forward or push it back.
Well, I moved into a small duplex, so I've got a like $1,000 corporate L desk that I had to block off my closet in order to use. So I just don't have the room to do my green screen or anything.
Oh wow!
And then the dogs have taken over my bed, so But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think that eventually the pendulum's going to swing back the other way, and we're going to get another golden age like the '80s.
Well, basically, when you have large platforms that censor, you're going to have problems. It's going to create problems, and those problems are going to create more problems, and eventually people get upset and they want to change things.
Yeah.
And normally they change it with money.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they want to have more hearings because of what Twitter and Facebook just did. But it's just smoke and mirrors. They're never going to do anything.
Well, it was Twitter, Facebook, and Google.
Oh, Google did it too? I wouldn't
I thought they did it in concert, but I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, so the thing is they want to hold hearings. We're going to hold hearings. Every one of those politicians that are screaming at the top of their lungs got donations from Google, Facebook, and Twitter. They're never going to do anything real about it because they get too much money. And Congress can't do anything anyway. Until somebody brings a lawsuit and it goes to the Supreme Court, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, it's gonna require basically a class action.
Yeah,
for something really to be done.
And we don't have the money to do that. I mean, they know it.
Yeah. So basically, it's gonna in these things, it's gonna take basically consumers saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, not buying." And that's what it's going to take with movies, TV shows, stuff like that. Advertisers, number one thing when a TV show is running, the commercials. If it's not a good TV show and it's not bringing in viewers and the ratings, those ratings are for actually the commercials.
Yeah.
It's not for the TV show. It's for the amount of people watching that actually sees those commercials.
Yep.
And advertisers won't want to advertise if it's not a good show.
Right.
And so if it's not doing good, it's gonna come down to where it's the nitty gritty, and advertisers are gonna say, "Sorry, we can't do this no more. We can't advertise on this." Yeah, they don't got the viewership.
Here's the thing, though. Oh, you got good shows, like, and I'm just going off of, the word of other people here because I did not actually get to see this show, but there are at least a couple people that I trust in their opinion. Anyway, that Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance or whatever show, right? Award winning and everything, and they drop it after that first season, and it's like, really? You of all the shows that you're gonna drop one that's like critically acclaimed and a fan favorite and all this other stuff, but you're gonna keep, crappy stuff, or stuff that people don't really care about, it's like.
Well, they've been doing that for a long time. Yeah. The Sci-Fi Channel used to play games like that. Like one of my favorite novelists is Jim Butcher, and he wrote the Dresden Files. And they had a TV show based on it. It was a really good show. Well, NBC owns Sci-Fi Channel, right?
I guess I do now.
Yeah, and
they own Comcast as well.
They got on, and basically they didn't like the show, even though it had a really high viewership. And so what they did was they renewed it, but they didn't tell any of the actors that they renewed it. And so the actors went and got other jobs. So when they came out and said, "Oh, we've renewed it," the actors are like, "We can't do it because we have other jobs. Sorry, we can't."
Well,
someone dropped the ball big time.
No, they did it on purpose. One one of the executive producers came out and said he was told they did it on purpose because they couldn't justify canceling it.
Right. But
Because TV executives have been and always will be asshats.
But when you have something good, like that Dark Crystal show, and it it's doing real good, and getting awards and all that stuff, and you're like, okay, and you'd think, all right, well, this show is going to be, season 2, season 3, season 4. No, they get rid of it, but they, they want to keep like a certain controversial movie, to, and pick that hill to die on. It's like, anyway.
Well, that's why I don't have Netflix anymore.
And here's the thing, and not to get too far off our actual subject again, but they've got, so that particular entity, right, has, not only did they give up on a good show like Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, but they've got shows like Cobra Kai coming on board, right? And Cobra Kai went from YouTube to Netflix, at least partially because, the popularity and, the budget started getting too big for them, so they ended up going to Netflix. Well, with all these people dropping their subscriptions and them losing billions of dollars, how are they going to expect to pay for popular shows like Cobra Kai?
Netflix,
and that's the thing. That's what gets, that's one of the things that gets me. It's like, they're jeopardizing like all these other good shows like Cobra Kai and The Witcher and for stupid shit.
Well, arguably good shows, but the thing is that Netflix is so far in debt, it's unimaginable. You have to look into it, but from my understanding is they're really far into debt. I mean, like billions of dollars in debt. A lot of these streaming services are. I think that's primarily the amounts of money that they spent on Trek is the reason why they have to, that CBS and Viacom are re-merging and starting a different platform is because CBS All Access lost so much money.
Yeah. Well, it's because they, and that's just part of the, identity politics freaking train, that they keep wanting to freaking push down the tracks, it's just.
And my son is, if it were up to me, I wouldn't have Disney Plus either, but the kid wants it for The Mandalorian. So
yeah.
That he's paying for it.
I had it. I had it during season 1 of The Mandalorian.
I did too.
But I ended up letting it, go by the wayside after that. But
Pal Patriot, which are you referring to? That weird Mr. Girl guy made a new weird video.
What another one? Okay, so there's this YouTuber, right? And he's basically one of those people that is defending
that weird that bad movie.
Yeah. So
I just won't give them the views.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I those YouTubers, I just won't give them the views. I mean, there's not any. I went through it in my mind every logical course of action, every logical explanation or argument, and there's just not one to convince me that it should be open, that the public should be able to see something like that.
Well, here's the thing, like, you get the ones that are like, well, if you didn't actually watch the movie, then you shouldn't be, bad mouthing it or expressing your opinions about it or whatever. And it's like, well, unfortunately I've seen snippets of it, and I've seen enough of a snippet to say, yeah, this is not,
Well,
my wife and I, we watched the preview.
Yeah.
And me and her were both like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I heard about it. I heard about it, so I went and looked, and I was just like, my goodness.
Well, I saw
and I hear there's even closer close-ups in the areas where there shouldn't be on 11 and 12-year-old girls in the movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking wrong.
Well, I mean, one of the little snippets I saw was of the competition, right? Where they all have like the same outfit on or whatever, and they're like some of the camera angles, and they're like pointed like right at the,
it's ridiculous,
and
it really is.
Which, you hear the director or whatever the hell she is, it's like, oh, we're it's a feminist movie, and we're showing you, we're bringing to light, this bad stuff, and whatever.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, every time I hear that argument, that puppy meme comes into that article from the what was it, The Onion or Babylon Bee, where Netflix releases new controversial movie, shooting puppies. We're shooting puppies to show you how shooting puppies is wrong.
But I mean, this particular scene though, right? And they're, they show the girls, and then and then they pan over to the audience, right? And at first the audience is like, clapping along and stuff, but then the girls start doing the more risque moves, and then they pan to the audience again, and it's they focus in on like these two women sitting together, and they're just like shaking their head no, like like, oh my god, I'm so disgusted, but it's like,
and they probably weren't acting, more than likely.
And the thing is, it's like, you don't need to make a Hollywood-esque type of movie to talk about this stuff. Now, like, if this would have been like a documentary type movie, okay, but
a documentary type movie wouldn't have shown them that way either.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like, but it's like you say, it's like we're gonna make a movie.
They would have shown us adult women doing those moves. Yeah. Then they would have said, "This is what those girls are doing," and oh my god,
But it's like you say, it's like, oh, we're gonna make a movie about why it's not good to kick your cat, and then have a scene in the movie where you're taking a cat and putting it like a football. It's like
it's like the skit where they say, well, I'm not going to do this and punch you in the face, and I'm not going to do this, punch you in the gut, and I'm not going to kick you in the balls like this and kick you in the balls. That kind of comedy skit,
Yeah.
It's like they're doing this with other stuff that it's like, okay, that's not funny. What they did was just basically wrong at every kind of level you can think of. And they said
Well,
they're being creative and all that stuff.
what people don't understand is that, the county in which they indicted Netflix here in Texas is a small town, college town, the town, but it's the county seat for the state of Texas. It is not a little town suing Netflix. It is the state of Texas suing Netflix. Okay? That would be the second most powerful entity in the United States suing Netflix. Because the Texas government is arguably the second most powerful government in the United States. If they convict Netflix, they can, number one, make them remove it, and number two, fine them upwards of $10 billion, I think.
And who thinks it's going to go to the Supreme Court?
If it goes to the Supreme Court, it'll go to the Supreme Court of Texas.
But if it goes past that,
it can't. It's a state. It's a state issue. Yes, these are state laws, and they're state felonies. So here's the thing. People have a very big misconception about how the federal government laws work versus state government laws. So federal government law, if I am convicted on a federal government law, the President of the United States can commute or pardon me, right? But if I'm convicted under the state of Texas felony laws, the president can't do a damn thing. The governor can let me go or pardon me, but the federal government can't do a damn thing for me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a states' rights issue. The state of Texas is the only state that has ever had jurisdiction outside its borders. Currently, I believe the Texas Rangers still can roam up into Wyoming.
Wow.
And that's a federal ordinance. So Texas is arguably the second most powerful entity in the federal in the United States of America. That's
Texas Rangers at one point in time were second to U.S. Marshals.
They're still second to U.S. Marshals.
Uh-huh.
They can still go up into Wyoming and California and stuff without extradition.
Well, isn't that true of every state bordering Texas? They can do that.
Yes.
I thought so.
Yes. And it's written into the terms of statehood. Because it goes to, we're arrogant for a reason. We're Texans, Texans are very arrogant about their state, and it's for a reason. You think about how the United States was founded with all the bloodshed and everything. Mm-hmm. It's 10 times as much whenever Texas was founded.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of history in Texas and how it came to be.
Yeah. And the other thing about us is, come on, we'll welcome you. If you don't like what's going on, come on. We're here. We got a lot of space still. And I'm spoiled because I grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth is one of the biggest media centers in the United States. So watching local programming here is like watching local programming in New York City or Washington, D.C., or they put a lot of production value into our local stuff. I've visited places like San Francisco and Chicago and stuff, and the production value is like really, really poor in those cities of their local. So I'm spoiled when it comes to that kind of thing.
What's the difference? So, what was your favorite character in this episode?
I will have to say my favorite character is Wilson, but the most intriguing, and that's probably because it's a mystery right now, is Grant.
Yeah, there's definitely an air of mystery around Grant.
I mean, it's obvious, but
Well, we're at the point where Wilson, they're all at the hotel. They've all made their journeys and they've got their. Becky had her convulsion before she left, and it looked like a doozy.
yeah,
And
because she couldn't get to her pills in time.
and that's the one thing that irritated me about that scene. When people are convulsing, they're not trying to get to the pills. It doesn't happen.
No, because pills take too long.
Right. My friend used to have grand mal seizures, and he used to take Tegretol.
Right.
And so I was very much aware of what caused his seizures, what can help, and stuff like that. And I've been in situations where me and my friends, we had to hold him up. First thing he'd do is get his wallet out and here, put this between my teeth, just in case.
Yeah.
And
whenever he felt it coming.
Yeah, and he always felt it coming. He got that weird feeling. That was accurate.
Yeah.
She was ignoring that feeling,
which is not accurate, right?
Which it's possible. I'll give it that much. It's possible. Because I knew my friend. He had grand mal seizures.
Yeah.
Pretty bad ones. He's had broken noses before. When I came out, it's like, oh, you had a grand mal, did you?
Yeah, he hit the floor or something.
Bedpost.
Yeah.
Bedpost. Round wooden one.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
And they don't really remember all of it, do they?
No, he's hazy. He's a little hazy after one happens.
Yeah.
But they don't try to take medication because number one, they can choke on it while seizing, and
it's not even doing any good while the seizure's going on anyway.
No. So the medicine part, that wasn't very believable for me, but the way she was having the seizure and when she got in her chair and strapped herself in, buckled herself in, put her arms under the bungee cord she had set, that was believable.
I think the pills were there to explain to people who don't know what seizures are.
Yeah, but they basically, the story writers thought they had to put that in there so that way the people...
Yeah, because we're all stupid.
Yeah. They think people are stupid and won't understand. And so
that's the other problem.
That all comes to an end, and then Wilson's at the hotel. He's knocking on the door, and he's going in he's the first one to see. They got him first for some reason. They must have had extensive conversation. He must have stuck out a little. And he's in there looking at it, at the manuscript, and they will only let him look at one page, each person that comes in, one page only. And they won't let him look at the whole thing.
Right.
And, they're wanting to sell it for a whole bunch of money. And so Wilson looks at it, and then he leaves. And then Ian, they go through a bunch of people looking at it, and they show Ian in line, and then he gets a look at it. Ian manages, when Nathan and Olivia are goofing off and hugging and kissing on each other, Nathan real slickly gets his phone out, snaps a picture of of one of the pieces they showed him, and then he puts his phone away, and they don't even know. And
he tries to tell Becky at one point, I think.
What?
I think he tries to tell Becky at one point that he took a picture. Yeah, but he got interrupted. Yeah.
Doesn't quite get there with it, yeah. And so he gets a picture. And, of course, just before he went there and looked at it, he's got the scene between the one guy that's looking like, what's her name in the very end? Jessica Hyde, the character all through the novel.
Yeah.
They don't know that Jessica Hyde is a real character, a real person.
Right.
They think she's just a character, and they thought it was just something for someone to tell something in a clever way. They didn't know the characters were real. They just thought the viruses were real, and that was it.
Well, yeah,
they didn't know how far this went.
They think it's all allegory.
Yeah, they think it's allegory, exactly. But they think the viruses are real.
Right.
And so it switches scenes and it shows the scene of Ian and Becky and that whole Samantha beat down of nerds and all that stuff. That just kind of ugly, you know.
So
And
do you remember that scene where it shows the picture of the comic where it looks like a bunch of zombies and one character's in the forefront with a femur in its mouth?
yep.
That character looks exactly like the character that we meet at the end, the comic book hero.
Oh yeah.
It looks exactly like her, and she's eating a femur. So I think that they've hinted at things to come throughout those pictures.
Yes.
That you see in the first episode.
Well, if you remember correctly, in the beginning when they all met up in the bunker, after they see the comic and they meet up in the bar, the scene coming up, they meet up in the bunker,
yeah,
and they show all the other images and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's interesting, very interesting stuff. They at that point they don't know how real shit is. They don't know how real it's gonna be.
Like I said, it does feel. Did you ever watch the show Preacher? It's also.
I might have seen a couple episodes.
It's based on another Garth Ennis comic, like The Boys.
Yeah.
And it has this has a feel between it, like it's a cross between Preacher and Donnie Darko. It's just got that feel to it.
I'm gonna have to check out Preacher then.
I got through the first 2 seasons and then it got weird, really weird, even for me.
So, after the scene where Wilson was checking out the manuscript, then Ian checks out the manuscript, catches a picture, and Wilson himself, when they asked about room number and phone number, he put down, "I will contact you." Because he didn't want them contacting him. He wanted his home to be anonymous. And which turns out to be really wise. Really, really wise. Because you switch scenes and a backcountry road in Illinois, probably way south of, and I know these country roads in Illinois because I'm from northwestern Indiana.
Yeah,
I've been out in all them back roads and all that stuff. I may be from Gary, but I did at one point live in Portage, which wasn't too far off. A lot of country, and just like in Indiana and Illinois, there's a lot of farm fields, a lot of farm roads, and so it showed a small, little, tiny road, and it shows a creepy-looking Sheldon-like character. He looks a lot like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory.
you get the impression that it's like a cosplay of Sheldon almost.
Almost. It kind of feels that way, but there's something creepy and sinister about this guy, I get the feel.
Yeah.
Because, and he's sitting there when they pan to him, he's eating a box of raisins, and he's eating one at a time.
Yeah.
Now, unless you're really into enjoying it, normally when I eat a box of raisins, I dump some in my mouth and eat it,
Yeah, those little boxes, man, I have to buy the whole big package of them to eat enough.
Hail Generation Productions, how you doing?
Hey,
and so he's sitting there, and he looks like he's like put out because he's waiting for the ride to pick him up. Rod pulls up in this little yellow MG, and he loves this car, says he loves it. It causes him to be slow sometimes because it glitches. Arby is just irritated because his reply was, "I like to be on time." He's like, "Well, arrive in style." And he's like, "I like to arrive on time," in reply. And these guys are so out of place. Rod's wearing a fedora, a short brimmed fedora, and these are a couple looking characters. I'm telling you. I believe he's wearing Rod's wearing a black tank top with a short button-up sleeve open, wearing a fedora, and Arby looks like almost a carbon copy, slightly a little bit more muscular version of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, you get the kind of outlaw look from one and the accountant look from the other.
Yeah. We're talking about the first episode of Utopia. And so they're obviously talking about going to the Comic-Con at the 4-star hotel with the really spacious bar. This is probably one of the most spacious bars I've ever seen at a hotel. So it looks like they were like, it's the kind of things they like to have their events and stuff. And these guys are on their way to this place, and you know, just from seeing these guys, that okay, something's really up with this. It's the first thing I thought about them. It's like, yeah, there's something going on.
Yeah. Yeah, then it's a weird dichotomy. They don't seem like they should be together. They're really seem like they would have clashing personalities.
Yeah. But they're pretty cohesive in their doings. RB and Rod. So basically, when when Ian walks up to the bar looking for Becky, because he hadn't ran into her yet, because we talked about that scene a little early, and there's this hot blue-haired cosplayer chick, and he goes to her, Becky, and she, with a real snarky look on her face, not Becky.
Yeah.
And then he goes, sits down at the bar, and just so happens Becky's at the bar to his left. Hot blonde chick to her right is now looking at Ian because he's talking to the hot chick to his left. Weird worlds, huh?
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're talking about the comic.
Oh yeah, he ordered a comic kazi.
A comic kazi drink that was this blue tall drink, and it looked like one of those fluffy foo-foo drinks.
Yeah, frou-frou drink.
Yeah, and
which, don't get me wrong, I love frou-frou drinks.
yeah, if it's your thing, man. But you know, I've had my share of foo-foo drinks that give you really bad hangovers.
Well, that's why I don't drink at all anymore.
Yeah, and so you know, I have an IP, I have one or two, and that's good for me. But yeah. So they have a conversation about the drink. She's want a beer, and she takes, oh, I'll have this, just to save face for him, or like she needs to save face for him for something. I'm just now recalling that right there. And then after that, Sam has her meltdown on the nerds and all that stuff, and then Becky has the little superhero thing that she kind of doesn't like. Alphas, or doesn't like male superheroes or superheroes in general. Not really into it. And then they move on. And
all right, so I got a question with you having said that. Do you see any wokeness on the horizon with this show?
I just described it to you. Those two scenes.
She. What sets her off is they start the nerds. I guess they're portraying them as nerds. Call her a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're one of those.
They whisper under their breath.
Yeah, and it sets her off. So there is potential for woke stuff there.
Yeah.
If you listen to the entire rant. it comes across as very woke.
Oh yeah.
And she is an activist. They set that up from the very beginning.
So know full well that she's going to be outspoken about some things. And
And she's
surprisingly,
alpha.
she doesn't say much though after that.
And she's an alpha.
Yeah, she's definitely an alpha, for sure.
I mean, you can tell that just from the conversation with her father, because she led that conversation, not him.
Well, then after they had all those conversations and they're at the table, they met and they're heading back to the bunker here in a little while. Meantime, they hadn't left the bar yet. They switched scenes. Arby and Rod enter into the hotel. Man, they look out of place. They look so out of place when they went in there, and it just they really do stick out a little bit, because the one guy looks very Sheldon-like, dressed like Sheldon, even a little more so, just odd looking.
You know what?
And
I think he actually wears the exact same outfit as young Sheldon does throughout that series. The sweater vest kind of deal.
yeah, polo shirts buttoned all the way to the top of the neck.
They wouldn't have looked more out of place if they had cone heads and said they were from Canada.
Right.
So yeah.
So of course you know that beans that Arby and Rod got there, they and you know, Wilson, right before this, after they enter, they switch to Wilson and the gang there at the fore. They finally meet up at the table, and Wilson loves to do the background checks on everyone that's coming to his house, because otherwise he won't let them come to his house. And so at this point, they're heading to his house. They switch scenes again, and Arby and Rod knock on Ellen and Olivia's door, and they're looking super creepy. They barge in, asking Olivia about Utopia, who's seen it. Rod grabs Olivia's phone, starts looking at it, and then Rod's got his gun out, silence gun, and they're telling him that we're all going to give you a shot. They take alcohol swabs or rub them. Now, Olivia's got two or three of her female friends in the background. They're there. And
they're drunk out of their mind.
Yeah, they're drunk out of their minds. And so they give him a shot, and it's either an overdose or it's poison. Either way. Because these guys are meaning business, and they all take it too. They all take the shot. They don't fight back. Yeah, they don't fight back, man. I don't know about you, man, but I'd be diving out a damn window to go call 911 because they're armed, number one. And
I'll be like, if you're gonna give me a shot, you're gonna kill me anyway. So I'm tackling you. Maybe one of us will get out of here.
Yeah, something's gonna happen. I'm not gonna do nothing. But they do nothing. They do nothing. They let them cotton swab their arm and inject them and shoot them up, and you know, they're all dead at that point, pretty much.
Yeah.
They set the room up. They put out some coke and all that stuff, and the scene right before this, a guy named Carson drops 20 grand and buys.
Basically, they stopped the auction. Hey, he's going to give us 20 grand. We're just going to sell it to him.
Yeah, and they weren't very sincere about the auction. They didn't really give everybody a chance to, you know, up the ante, but they were figuring they weren't going to get any more than that, and you know. And they did a little thing. They got the money, and you know what? They didn't run. Because normally, my mindset is, okay, money's in hand, I'm out of here later.
Yeah.
Party somewhere else.
Especially since they weren't comic book people. Why would they stay?
It's like, why would they stay there?
Yeah.
But they end up dying. So, after that scene...
What's the matter, Chewie?
Arby and Rod basically pull out their science pistols and tell them you're all going to get a shot, and you can either take the gun or take the shot. Either way, we can do this the nice way, or we can do it the hard way. And of course, they take the shot.
Yeah.
And they proceed to go to every room, because they got the list of room numbers and names of people that looked, and they wanted to kill everybody that's seen Utopia.
So all the nerds die. All of them.
All the ones that looked at it.
Yeah.
Every single one that looked at it. And the one nerd that had the pigtails that was cosplaying Hyde, Jessica Hyde,
Yeah.
he got blamed because he had mental illness problems.
Yes. And they put the gun in his hand and made it look like he had it. They actually did something very clever and stuck their head in the door and said, "Oh, nice view," so he would turn his head.
I noticed that.
That was very clever. Just
because you don't do this, you don't put a gun to your forehead. It's the side of your head,
And I just remembered something. They make fun of us in two ways. They make the mentally disabled people, the nerds, and specifically say to her, "Oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists. We're in it for the story." And it makes them out to be idiots.
And they mentioned mythology.
Yeah. And so
what words have we been mentioning a lot lately? Mythoses, mythologies, and stories. Good ones.
So it's a very subtle dig at us as fans.
All right. I'm going to do something that I never do. I am going to spoil one character. And it's a character we hate.
Yeah.
I don't do it. I don't normally do this, but I don't like her character.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say what happens.
Cool.
She don't make it. Let's put it that way.
Oh, good.
Like I said, remember, 2 alphas can't exist.
That's right.
And that's all I'll say on that. So it leaves some mystery there.
There you go. It's a pretty good mystery, too.
I really don't like her character. Samantha, nah, I don't like her character.
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with her being a blonde.
No.
Absolutely nothing to do with it.
Although if she had red hair, she'd be prettier.
Yeah, the red hair would make her eyes pop more. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, just a little bit of a sidetrack, okay?
Not too far of a sidetrack.
Yeah.
Keep on point.
So, like, movies or whatnot, say like with the the Avengers, that each and every character in the Avengers is an alpha. So I'm still trying to figure out,
yes and no.
What you're saying about, there can only be one alpha. There are instances where pretty much everybody is an alpha,
Right, but that's part of the Avengers story, is them clashing against one another, if you'll notice.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, there turns out to be one alpha. Basically, Iron Man leads them, but it's there are scenes in the Avenger movies where it is noticeable that you have a character putting aside his arrogance, so to speak. But that was one of the things about the story, the Avengers story, was that that was a conflict that needed to be resolved periodically throughout those stories. And in most stories, the resolution. All right, so you have a bunch of moral characters. Their resolution to that kind of conflict is not going to get somebody killed. But in a story where the protagonists aren't very moral characters, so to speak, then usually those alpha disagreements get settled a different way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we move on, and we now see Grant has arrived. Knocks on the door before they get them. Right before the scene of them knocking on the door, Grant knocks on the door. Olivia tells Grant that Carson in the penthouse bought it. It's like, maybe you can get him to show you. And so Grant goes to the front desk, schmooze the front desk lady, and says he's Carson's son, and he knows his name and everything because what's her name gave him the name. And she gives him a key card because he shows him this thing that says Grant Carson on it to visitor pass, you know?
Yeah, just a name tag.
Yeah. And she gives him a key card, so he goes back to the room.
And I remember thinking when she asked him for ID, I'm like, what is a little 10-year-old kid going to have for ID? You know, so that was kind of clever.
It was clever. And so, you know, Grant, typically being a 10, 12-year-old, you know, goes there, turns the TV on to a music station, music videos playing, turns it all the way up, turns everything on, messes with the power curtains that go back and forth with the remote, turns the tub on with the remote.
Yeah, the hot tub.
Off, splashes in the water. Then he hears keys jingling and Carson's coming in. And lo and behold, guess who's with Carson? The blue-haired hot chick cosplayer.
Yep.
Right there.
Who obviously doesn't know a thing about Comic-Cons.
No, she's there because she's a call girl.
That's right. But she's
at the bar and she showed absolutely no interest.
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
That's the key thing. If she would have been a real cosplayer, there would have been real interplay and a conversation going on.
Right.
That didn't happen. So we know that she was a call girl.
Right.
Or a girl of convenience that was there to have a party and have fun and maybe hook up. Yeah. But she was definitely not really a nerd not necessarily a nerd, a cosplayer in the real sense of the word.
So
they
keep in mind when you watch this, it starts out to be about comic books and nerds, but that's not really what it's about.
No, it's all the deep undertones and the gray areas and
supernaturality.
Yeah. So you got Carson and coming into the room with the hot cosplayer chick with the blue hair, and Grant hears the keys jingling and he goes hides and watches them come in, and Carson doesn't really notice the stuff's turned on and stuff like that. Doesn't pay attention. He's distracted by the hot blue-haired cosplayer, and
as any 10-year-old would be. Because her ass cheeks are hanging out of her costume.
No, Carson, the adult that came in the room. Grant's hiding.
Carson's
the adult that has the room.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by the cosplayer with her ass cheeks hanging out of the costume.
Oh yeah, and so Grant's hiding. Carson thinks he's about to get his jiggy on with blue-haired hot chick while wearing a cosplaying outfit. Then knock, knock, knock on the door. Carson's like, wow, that's weird. Goes to enter. And then one of the either Arby or Rod, they got a silenced gun pointed at him. More than likely it's the black one. It was Rod. Because Arby has the silver silenced gun. And so cosplayer girl thought it was just a joke. Thought it was cosplaying. And she was just joking and kind of making fun of Rod, and Rod comes up there and backhands her until she gets knocked out. I guess he didn't think it was funny. She was calling him, "What are you portraying, asshat?"
Yeah, it was a good line.
I don't think you like being called asshat.
He was attached to his hat.
And so they pan the camera over to Arby, who's looking at this. I think it's a stork with a very long beak. He picks it up, turns it around, like, yeah, it's a good stabbing thing.
It's a bronze statue.
Yeah, he puts the beak straight through Carson's hand. Because Carson was going to try and call the police real quick. Because Carson realized what time it was.
Yep.
And
I wonder if he was thinking about defunding the police. In that instance.
So he's got a brass beak in his hand holding him there. And he's asking questions, asking where the comic is. Grant, man, he sees what's going on. He ducks behind the bed, down, around the couch, and then darts for the door. Then Arby puts a bullet in Carson's head. Rod puts a bullet in the cosplayer's head. And one thing that you may have noticed, Carson was holding up a hand in front of his head. Arby holds one hand over his eye. And what do you think that symbolizes? The one eye? Celebrities taking pictures with one hand over their eye.
Yeah. The Illuminati.
Yeah. That was in that scene in that movie.
Yeah.
In that show there. And so that was just one of those kind of things like, oh, really? I noticed the first time I watched it. I sat down today to do my second watch on the first episode and took notes.
Yeah. I just watched it the one time.
And so this stuff is so deep in this show.
Yeah, it makes me wonder.
All the other stuff that's happening is just side filler.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they're going to be, because there's a lot of potential subplots that it makes me wonder how much they're going to get through in the first season.
Well, the first season's only, I think, 8 episodes.
Well, that's how they're doing it. There's even for these little B movie kind of TV shows, they're spending a lot of money. Give me just a second. I got to take the dogs out.
Yeah, sure thing. So they pretty much, after this, they go door to door and they kill every person on the list, and they take them all out, and it's just mind blowing. It's just amazing. So they obviously they make chase after Grant. Grant, man, that boy can run, and he hits the button for the elevator. Instead, he darts down the stairs, figuring it's not going to open in time, and he gets away. And in the meantime, Arby and Rod are doing cleanup duty in the hotel, making sure everyone that's seen the book enters after that Jessica Hyde. And she comes into Nathan and Olivia's room. Olivia's not dead yet. She's still hanging on. And she comes in. Jessica Hyde comes in. We don't know at this point that it's Jessica Hyde. And so she steps in. And she grabs the money off the table, puts it in her pocket, grabs the syringes. That's got the drugs
all
in.
You see is her pants and her shoes.
At this point, yes, all pants and her shoes. Grabs the syringes, grabs anything really of value, sticks in her pocket, walks over to Olivia because she's moving, and basically she's asking for help. And it's just amazing. She's looking at all the artwork on the wall.
That says "Save Jessica Hyde."
Yeah. And she tells Olivia that she's Jessica Hyde before Olivia slumps over and dies.
Yep. Yeah, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty good overall.
I got a feeling that the SJWs in this die. That's the feeling I get. That's the feeling I get, because that's the one thing I did spoil for the next. I think it's either next episode or the one after that.
Oh, so she's not even that long a live character.
No, I think she makes it 3 episodes.
Wow,
maybe 4.
That's awesome.
But Jessica Hyde's not going to be having no other leader.
Yeah. No, because she looks like a street kid.
Oh, man. She knows how to fight and all that stuff. She was trained.
Yeah. Well, did they ever decide if it's jujitsu? Never mind, I'll watch it.
Well, if you remember in the beginning, Artemis trained her.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They mentioned Artemis in the beginning.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it should be pretty it looks really interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I may even binge watch it here tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
I am finishing up a demonology story for the Halloween stuff, but yeah, because I got to keep up momentum. If I don't put a video out, once or twice a week, then my views go to nothing. So
yeah, I tend to do things at my own pace when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'm not doing a lot of live streams, but on Halloween, I think I'm going to live stream all the horror stories I've written this month and let people critique them as we go. And then, respond to the critiques the way a creator is supposed to respond instead of being an asshole like we've been seeing. I mean, you can tell somebody that their idea wouldn't really work with your stuff without telling them they're an idiot, or telling them that they're ists or phobes or anything like that. Or you can take it and go, that's not a bad idea. When I rewrite this, maybe I'll take that into account, which is the truth. But yeah,
overall, good episode, despite some of the signifying moments.
Yeah.
We can call those particular moments what they were. They were anti-patriarchy moments.
Yes, they were.
But they didn't badmouth fathers.
No, they didn't, and they didn't beat you over the head with it. It was just those two characters in those two instances.
Right. So overall, I would say that the story is definitely deep, and it doesn't evolve around the signifying, which is good.
Yeah, and I think if I watched it again, I will catch a lot more stuff. I want to watch it again just to look at the photo, the artwork, and see if I see anything else that looked familiar throughout the scenes. Because I'm pretty sure they forecasted a lot of stuff with those pictures.
Oh yeah.
And that's a brilliant way to do foreshadowing too, by the way, because it's kind of almost subliminal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. And
well, it seems like both sides of the coin here, because I mean, you're because I'm just going off of what you guys have been saying. Like I haven't seen this myself, but it's like we have like a SJW vibe and like a Karen vibe or whatever, and then but at the same time you're like talking about how it's going to be like anti SJW and all this stuff. So
just going from the first episode, it's got a lot of potential, but there is just from the first episode, ignoring what was spoiled about the main SJW character. From the first episode, it looks like it's going to be really interesting, but there is a potential for SJW woke crap to take over. Now, from what Bear just said, it looks like they're going to kill off those certain people that would take it that direction. So that makes it even more interesting to me.
Yeah.
That maybe they're actually trying to tell a story.
It certainly does seem like it. That's for sure.
And even, in this day and age, even if it's a bad story, but it takes you on a good journey, that's worth watching. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's about the journey as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a huge surprise in this show, where they're going with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it could go any direction. That's what's so fascinating about it. And so here's what typically happens on these shows, though, is that the first season turns out to be good or, very minimally woke, and then it gets a bunch of viewers, and then the very next season is woke as hell. So that's what I'm afraid of.
Kind of like here's another show that I haven't really seen, but like kind of like what they did with Supergirl.
Yes. Hang on, I had to go get the dogs in. They're howling.
Sure. Yeah, they defeminized Supergirl after a point.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to figure out how to watch this show.
Yeah, we'll have a watch party, and we'll get in the yard, and I'll pull it up, and because I have it on Prime.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
but yeah, I don't know. I just
I did notice that there is a watch party button on Prime underneath the episode.
Yeah, I've noticed that Disney Plus has that too.
Oh yeah, well,
they also have a watch party function.
Oh, that's cool.
Or was it CBS All Access that has that? I don't remember.
I guess we can watch party, but we can't stream while we're watch partying.
Exactly.
Okay, so we can watch party, but we can't stream the actual sound and stuff. That makes sense.
Well, basically, what a watch party is we all get together in the green room and we watch it.
Yeah.
And then we can go live and then talk about it.
Yeah.
Or just have a watch party one day and then go live the next day and talk about everything that we watch, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that.
Because I stream 2 days out of the week, Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. I got to figure out a day to stream. It's tough. People want me to come on, but I'm usually working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and most of the big shows are doing the middle of the week. So, most of the little channels are watching them. But and I don't want to go live when other people are live. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, that's getting kind of hard to do these days. The more people you get to know on here, it's like, well, okay, well now this person's on this time, this day, and yada yada. It's like, Ord's board, they decided to do a thing tonight, and it's like Friday night seems to be like one of the worst nights to try and do something because half the internet is watching Gary and them on Nerdrotic for Friday Night Tides, and then the other half of the internet is watching Doomcock.
Friday Night Frolics.
Well, it's kind of why I start right around between 8 and 9:30, in some cases 11.
Yeah.
Because I go with the flow. I do what feels right. When it feels right, it's like, okay, hit the go button.
Well, I'm probably gonna do them like informational live streams, like talk about certain stories and things, because I really want to start focusing the channel more on the writing and the stories and everything. And I'm probably just gonna do it because I work overnight, so I can go live at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and do a 2-hour live stream if I have enough stuff to talk about. And then, if people have insomnia, they can tune in or jump in or whatever. So that's probably what I'm going to do for a while. Like I said, I'm not so much about growth right now as just getting content out.
Yeah. Normally, the reason why it's a Four Horsemen show is because it's the nature of Utopia. It's the nature of it. That's why it's Four Horsemen show.
Yeah.
Normally, it's the late edition on Saturdays. And every now and then, it's like last Friday. I missed last Friday, so I had the Four Horsemen Saturday. But normally, it's just a late edition. And soon here, I may have a surprise for everybody. It'll be a surprise coming on a Saturday and a future date.
Nice.
Yeah. Don't be late. Don't be square. Grab a chair if you got to dance.
There you go.
You kind of reminded me of something though when you said bad but good,
Yeah.
like two shows that are actually linked to each other. Hercules and Xena, back in the
Wookiee.
day.
Really bad shows, but really fun journey to go on.
Hey, we'd have to change this for only 21 and over setting if we let Rookie tell us his idea of Utopia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's really fun shows, really fun movies. I mean, look at the 80s, Once Bitten. That was a horrible movie, but it was great. Fright Night, horrible movie, but great movie.
Cherry 2000.
Oh yes, amazing movie. And look at where those actors are now.
Remember the father that played in Terminator 3?
Yep.
The Air Force father of the daughter.
Yep.
That was going to be the wife of John Connor. He played in Cherry 2000.
Yep. And so did
and that was was it Goldie Hawn that played that?
No, it was the girl Melanie Griffith.
Melanie Griffith.
Yeah.
As the first movie I ever saw her in, and I fell in love from the moment I saw her. Well, of course, there was the way she was dressed, but
yeah, we did a live stream based off of that movie.
She was a sex bot.
Not anymore, though. She's had a little bit too much work done.
Well, yeah, it's like what's her name from Weird Science, Kelly LeBrock. But another great bad movie, Weird Science.
Yeah.
I mean, the 80s was just a golden age of movies.
Yep.
And we'll get it back someday. I might be like Marty's dad in the future, floating around upside down because my back don't work, but we may get it someday. Where'd that dog go? Joey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go eat. You gonna go eat? All right.
So you guys think it's kind of like a crazy clown world anymore, right?
Hey, always. 2020 anyway. I didn't think it could get this bad. I mean, what's next? Zombies? Aliens? Oh, wait, we already have zombies. They're rioting. I still maintain that those chicks in 2016 crossed the streams and pushed us into a different dimension.
Say that again.
I maintain that those bitches in Ghostbusters 2016 crossed the streams and put us in a different dimension.
Dude.
That's when all this shit started.
That's the only movie I think in recent history that I can remember where I had to force myself to pay attention. You know, it's like
it would have been a good movie if the jokes were good, but they weren't even good jokes.
Dude, it was like a freaking slapstick fest. There wasn't anything to it. It was stupid.
It was basically one skit joke after another piled on top of each other. It's like,
and if I was those guys from the original Ghostbusters, I'd be insulted that they thought that's what my humor was about. But yeah, I maintain that they crossed the streams and pushed us all into a different dimension.
I mean, you know, you go from, you know, one of the most iconic lines in a movie, you know, of Ray, when somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's like one of the best lines ever in a movie.
Oh, if they were smart,
if
they were smart in this next movie coming out, they will have that scene and Ray goes, yes, I am a god or something. Yeah.
You know, we should be watching that in the theater already. If it seems like, I don't know. I can't remember when it was originally supposed to hit the theaters. All I know is it was supposed to be in theaters this year.
Well, theaters are open here, so I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure what's open in Washington State. They were the slowest to reopen.
Yeah, besides San Francisco and LA.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not even hearing much about COVID unless people are arguing about it about the election. Yeah. I'm not hearing anything real about it, just whose fault it is.
Well, we have mandatory masks here in Washington State. I don't wear a fucking mask anywhere. I have allergies. I can't wear a mask, and I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to rebreathe my own CO2. You know, my mom's asthmatic, so there's a chance that I could be asthmatic. I'm like, sorry, not happening.
Well,
so the Fred Meyer I go in, they don't give me a hard time. I go in the Walmart in Lacey, they don't give me a hard time. Two dudes bigger than me and my brother-in-law both standing there, and we go in Walmart, and I looked them both down, and I dared them to ask me to get a mask. They didn't. They looked away when I looked at them, actually.
Well, and if I go to a place of business that has a sign that says they require a mask, then I'll put a mask on. But it's a Trump mask, so I mean that's my compromise. And then if they don't require a mask, I don't put one on. But if somebody asks me pleasantly to put a mask on, I will. But you know what? 2 weeks ago, I was sick as a dog for about 3 days. And my son works in the food industry, so he's like, you got to go to the doctor because if you got COVID, I got to get tested. So I went. They tested me 3 times. I did not have COVID. I had the regular, normal, everyday flu. So as of yet, I've caught the flu, but I've not caught COVID. So I wear a mask everywhere. I mean, it's not even designed to keep you from getting sick.
the CDC has warnings about masks anyway. I mean, we're talking about microns, and they have all the details about masks, what work and what doesn't. They have all the CDC has all that information
Yeah,
available.
I have the little the mask with the 2 filters on it that you put an extra piece of fiber in it to filter it. But I mean, viral particulates are the smallest things. They're smaller than cells. So I don't understand how a woven piece of cloth is supposed to. I guess it slows down the spray, but you're still, if you're close enough, you're still going to get it. If it's airborne, and they don't even know that for sure.
I think it's a big part of it is just it's the optics,
It makes people feel better. It makes people feel better.
Here's one thing. When's the last time you seen anybody in the New England Journal of Medicine writing about it?
That's true.
It hasn't happened since March, as far as I know. Last time, and I should probably check here soon. But
Trump got over it in 2 days.
We don't see any peer-reviewed, respected science. They haven't really shown us any yet.
All we keep getting are misinformation, and the media that are telling us these things are media we already know lie to us.
Yeah, absolutely true. You can't believe anything any of them say, and even Fox is complicit to a certain point. Can't believe what they say at times too.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. When I tell them that, dude, look, you got to stop watching CNN. They're like, what should I watch, Fox? I'm like, no, watch independent journalists. Watch people that are just reporting facts. Stop watching talking heads because it's not news.
It's
Rachel Maddow had to admit in a court of law that her show is opinion. If she didn't, they would have gotten to sue her for a lot of money.
Yeah, she's considered an opinion piece.
Yep.
The majority of the people talking heads in news is considered an opinion piece.
I mean, you watch Fox News after 5 p.m., it's all talking heads. But it's everywhere. It's on local news. It used to, when I was a kid, they had a segment where they told you what was happening, and then they went to the weather, and then they went to the sports. And at the end, they had once a week, the journalists came on, whether it was Walter Cronkite or Dan Rather or Peter Jennings, and they had it at the very top of your screen. It said opinion, and they did their editorial, and that was it. And you knew it was their opinion. Now they portray everything as a fact.
Apollo Patriot, Fox News Corp was not sold to Disney.
No, it's still. I think Rupert still owns it, doesn't he? The news part.
Fox News Corp is a separate entity. The TV stations and TV shows section of Fox wasn't sold. It was the Motion Picture Corporation part that was sold. They might even have a little stake in the TV shows, but
they did. That's how they got the Simpsons.
Yeah, the news stations, news-wise, the local is owned by News Corp.
Yeah,
and even the cable Fox News is News Corp.
And I believe a lot of the shows Fox had on its TV channel were not owned by Fox; they were just distributed. So that's why, like, the Orville left and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's a downright shame that Fox was sold.
It's a downright shame the government let them get bought like that.
Yeah. Because basically, Disney loves to take movie products off market.
Yeah.
And stop producing them so that the way they become rare, then they can sell them more when they release them rarely.
Yeah, out of the vault.
Anything of any kind of sensitive nature, forget it. You're never going to see it again unless you already have a hard copy.
Right. Or they'll change it.
Well, yeah, or they'll edit it and change it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a we're already living in a media dystopia.
Oh, for sure. You can't believe anything the news media people say.
Yeah, I mean, I watch Tim Pool and I have to filter that. You know.
Yeah, I watch him here and there a little bit. I take everything grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, I love the guy, but he says you got to stand up, you got to stand up, you got to stand up, and then when people stand up, he goes, "Stop the violence!" Like, dude, when you stand up, eventually it's going to come to violence.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you stand up to somebody who will not back down, then it's going to come to violence.
Yeah. As far as the MSM goes, Fox News is probably the only one that you can consider mainstream media that I even halfway believe. Okay, CNN, MSNBC, they're just, they're just definitely talking heads for the freaking lefties. But I like stuff like Ben Shapiro, even though he can be a little goofy himself sometimes, but I still like Ben Shapiro. I like Steven Crowder, and I'll watch other people that are related to the Blaze Network, and there's one called OAN, OAN.
Yeah.
OAN.
And there's
One America.
There's one Canadian-based group called the Rebel, and
I listen to most of that, but I also listen to the Young Turks, and I listen to a couple of other more liberal.
No.
I can't stand the Young Turks.
Well,
I listened to them when they first got started.
Well,
they were good.
I listen to them to get the alternate point of view because I don't want to just fill my head with one side.
Right. Well, I mean, I can understand the quote unquote understanding your enemy, type of thing.
Well, that's the reason I started listening.
Yeah.
But then it got to where every now and then they'll have a good point, and that'll soften my stance on a few. I'm not the type of person that can't bend a little bit when somebody makes a logical argument.
Once I come to a point and I'm done with something, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm done with types like that. I'll see the headlines and stuff like that. I'll see little articles written about it. I'll catch that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't need to hear what they're spewing because that's what they're doing. They're spewing. Well, they used to do some really good stuff, and now they don't.
Well, what's really interesting though is that that they know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. And what's the most frustrating is that you run across people who believe what they're saying, and you're like, you can't possibly be this stupid. That's what's frustrating. It's not that I'm angry with anybody for believing this stuff.
Hey, man, it's what happens when they sniff their own ass farts.
I guess. I used to think that I was just average intelligence, that I was just, just a monochromatic guy going through the world. And then all this happens, and I'm like, there are some really stupid people in the world. It's like, maybe we should go all libertarian and let the people die that can't take care of themselves. I'm not serious about that, but you know what I mean. I'm being hyperbolic, but
yeah, that's why the banner warning opinions given and rumors expressed. We express opinions.
Another person I like to watch, a lovely looking young lady by the name of Caitlin Bennett.
Yeah.
Is
this a weather forecaster?
What, Caitlin Bennett? No, she's known as the what was it? Kent State Gun Girl. Is how she started getting famous.
Yeah, she started getting hate mail and shit because she liked guns.
Yeah, she took her her college senior pictures holding an AR-15, and people went ape shit over it.
No,
but yeah, she's got a YouTube channel called Liberty Hangout. I think you'd enjoy it. You know, she goes around to like different college campuses and this and that, and you know, kind of like Steven Crowder does, you know, but it's just funny, all these people that, like, you know, and people her age, you know, younger people, and that just like hate her guts, you know, because she's, you know, because she's pro-gun and, you know, pro-Trump and
hot as hell.
Yeah.
Admit it, Shellback. That's why you watch. She's hot as hell.
Oh no, I mean, dude. I mean, it helps. You know,
yes. I agree.
You know, it does give you something to look at while you're, you know, laughing at the stupid people she's talking to, and
there's
whatnot,
nothing.
But
there's nothing wrong with beautiful women. Yeah. Absolutely nothing wrong with beautiful women.
But one of the things that that she does in particular that I like is she would make these videos where she'd say certain phrases, right? She'd say a phrase, and the people that she's talking to are under the impression that freaking Trump said it, right?
Yeah.
And so they're all like, orange man bad, you know, and all this stuff. And then she's like, well, what if I told you that so-and-so said it? You know, and that certain so-and-so happened to have like a, you know, the letter D beside their name, you know. And then they're like, no, that can't be true, you know, and it's like, but anyway.
It's I'm really hoping all this crap dies down after the election, no matter what. At least the COVID stuff and the lockdowns and all that. We need to figure this thing out. We can do it. There was a brief moment I thought we were all just going to come together, that this was going to be the big thing, but I think George Floyd thing ruined it all.
Well, hey, hold on a second. Wookie, if you're still out there, I definitely got to say that those shorts are definitely not UPS regulation. That's for sure.
I don't think of that. I don't think that whole uniform.
Come on, more mystery makes it funny, okay?
Yeah. I saw that same picture, and if I saw a UPS delivery gal like that, anyway.
See, I know how to distract the turtle.
Yeah. Shellback, the real world doesn't work like porn. I've been around too long, seen too much. It doesn't work that way.
Well, yeah. So what if I don't have a pool? I still want to have it cleaned.
There you go. What do you mean by pool?
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, That it's just people are just yelling crazy things anymore.
Here's the thing. They're like flies. Eventually, they'll go away.
Yeah, I hope so. We've been saying that for a while, though.
Oh no, they really will. They really will go away eventually.
Yeah, well, I mean, already people like Alyssa Milano has become irrelevant.
Hey, everything has a season, man. The fucking season's almost up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The
And
cycle
I
of the
was,
will. The cycle of the will needs to
I
turn.
was so disappointed in her.
Mm.
I had such a crush on her because she's the same age as we are, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, she is fucking insane. She's gone insane.
Now Rose McGowan, man, she's making a little bit more sense lately, eh?
Yeah, but I think she was driven insane. I think that fucking place ruined her. And I think she's being honest about it.
She's expressing how she feels, and hey, that's not a bad thing.
It makes you wonder if all the Q folks aren't onto something.
Yeah, Star Trek, you know, Star Trek Q, he does all those omnipotent things.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if in Discovery they're going to bring Q into this. I did
Probably.
watch the first episode of Discovery, season 3. Yeah.
Was it any good? I couldn't get through 5 minutes of season 2. I watched all of season 1, but as soon as Captain Pike showed up and she started disparaging him and the Enterprise, it was done. I was done.
I think my favorite part was Michael got ate by a space cow, and then the space cow threw up.
Oh my god!
I'm serious. It really happened.
Oh my god!
What?
That was my favorite part.
I bet
Michael, she just took it with class.
she's immune to space digestive juices.
Yeah. Well, see, I haven't seen any of it because I tend to stay away from anything that has the initials STD.
Yeah.
But you know, that was probably my favorite moment.
Oh my god!
If I was to have a favorite moment, that was
it. Well, at least they're not ruining a good character. She was already a bad character.
She seems to be a bit less wooden and less preachy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe getting eaten by a space cow and then regurgitated has helped her attitude.
Oh, she did survive a plummet in the suit with maximum shields on the suit on, plummeted from the atmosphere of the planet and hit with the force of a comet.
Oh. So now she's Superman.
Well, the suit looked to be pretty severely damaged, but still functioning. And so what she did was she took the emergency kit out of the back of the suit, auto-programmed it to go back through the wormhole that they came through, and it auto-destructed.
Oh. Yeah, because we can't have that technology because this took place before the OG. Right?
Well, in a sense, not letting time travel technology get in the wrong hands is probably, I think, why she sent it up into the wormhole, and then it auto-destructed.
Man. How do they keep getting money to make this stuff? It's just weird to me.
You gotta wonder if it's part of the plan.
You got to think they have a plan.
The other plan, not
Oh.
the plan. We want the plan to be like Superman and fly, you know.
Yeah.
But the other plan, that was what you call Nuclear Man, you know.
Yeah.
We use superheroes and stuff like that say things. Superheroes say a whole bunch of different things, and so we use superheroes to speak for us.
Yeah.
All I know is Vic Mignogna made 11 episodes
Of one of the best Star Trek shows.
of Star Trek Continues for less than one episode of STD.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a much better show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like I said, from what I know, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen Star Trek Discovery, but I have seen Star Trek Continues.
I've seen both, and your opinion
Yeah.
is 100% accurate as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I watched. I was amazed that I didn't know about Star Trek Continues before I heard about it. And I'm not, I was a Star Wars kid growing up, but like I said, other than the books in the 80s or the 90s at least,
right,
all we had was Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like both. I mean, I was all about Star Wars, and stuff, especially during the time period that the movies were out,
So do you guys like Battlestar Galactica?
Oh yeah.
Okay, the new one, the BSG.
Both of them, the original and the new one. Yeah. I mean, when the new one came along, and I found out that Starbuck was going to be a woman.
That's what I was asking. That's what I was asking.
I was like, oh God, are you effing kidding me?
But it turned out to be.
And I thought it was going to be trash, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they did her character really well, and so I'm trying really hard to give certain shows a chance. Like this Utopia show where we were saying that, in the first episode there are a couple of SJW moments and characters, but that can turn out, with the example of BSG, that can turn out not to be such a bad thing if it's done well.
Yeah.
The problem is that most of these creators are freaking lazy.
Yeah. Well, and you since you brought up Battlestar Galactica, right? The new one. I can't remember what episode it is, but freaking Starbuck, the lovely
Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff, yes. She hauls off and freaking punches Apollo, right? And instead of, just sulking off or, doing what seems like a lot of the for lack of a better term, SJW writers would have, a character do, have him, emasculated.
Right.
She hit him, and guess what? He hit her right back.
That's right.
I mean, like ultimate freaking, equality moment, and
it worked in that setting because they're more advanced. It's like Starship Troopers where they had the shower scene where everybody was.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to have the extra scenes DVD where you get to see what's her name. The girl that was married to Charlie Sheen. You get to see her naked in the extra scenes, in the deleted scenes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she looks really nice.
Yeah,
she does naked very, very well.
Well, yeah. You got to see that in what was the name of that movie?
Wild Things.
Yes.
I'm a connoisseur of the female form.
Yeah.
I'm a pig.
Yeah, but no, the Battlestar Galactica with you know, the great Edward James Olmos as Adama and all that.
They did a lot of gender.
It worked, you know. I mean,
they did a lot of gender swapping,
Yeah.
a lot of race swapping, but you know what? They also deepened the character's story to explain who they were.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like so Adama went from being a white male in the original to being a Latino male in the next one.
Yeah. Who came from a Hispanic gang family.
Hmm.
You know.
Shit. Help me out here because I'm drawing a blank. Colonel Ty. Colonel Ty.
Yeah, Colonel.
Okay,
Ty.
so in the original, Colonel Ty was a black man, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
And in the new one, he's a white dude. Okay.
Yep.
And we already talked about Starbuck.
Boomer.
And Apollo's the same. You know, he's still a white dude. Boomer went from being a black guy to an Asian woman.
Yep.
But you know, it worked though. I mean, I watched.
Don't forget, she also replaced another character, another version of Boomer.
Yeah.
She became what was the name? I just had it. Damn it!
I can't think of it either. Been a long time since I've seen the original.
I just had the word in my head. It just went poof. I hate it when it happens. Oh man, I hate it when that happens.
But the reason I brought that up is because that's an instance where you can see this stuff. When you have a good story group, a good group of writers sitting in a room, that's the kind of stuff you can come up with. But what they're doing now is just laziness. You know, if you truly wanted a female-led Star Wars movie, you could have done Rey right. You could have made Finn a Jedi. You could have had them play off each other. One of them go bad. It would have been tremendous.
Athena.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Remember there was in the original.
There was two, Athena and Boomer, and then she ended up being both.
Yeah.
She had two different personalities in her clone.
There was a female fighter pilot named Athena in the original Battlestar Galactica.
And then they paid homage to the original by having the original.
And they were called warriors. They were called warriors in the original Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, so they did a tremendous job of deepening. I mean, they took and did something that expanded and made the original better. And now they don't care. And it's almost like the success of that show caused a lot of these like manufactured versions of something that was organic. That's what Hollywood's best at. Stumbling on something that works and then making a million carbon copies of it that don't work.
And I'm starting to think that it's all right. You know, it's like I touched it and it burnt my hand. So, okay, let's touch it again and again and again.
Maybe
and they're still getting burnt, but they don't care that they're getting burnt because they keep touching the hot stove that's glowing red hot.
And my fear is, just to take the analogy a little further, or the metaphor really, is that they've burned all the nerves off of their hands and can't feel the pain anymore, so they're going to keep doing it.
Desensitized, yeah.
Yep. But eventually they're just going to run out of money.
And then the corporate board types are going to have to take action and say, hey.
Well, my fear is that Joe Biden gets elected and he gives them a whole bunch of money and bails their asses out.
Don't jinx it.
I mean, because
don't jinx it.
You know that's what's going to happen.
No.
He's going to get elected.
La
Well,
la 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 la.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I really don't talk too much politics on this channel.
Yeah, I really don't think it matters who gets elected. I think they're going to go to the government with their hands open. I just like the car companies did.
Well, that's a different scenario, I think. But
yeah, I mean, I'm just afraid that there's outside influences that's going to keep this going for a while. Like China's still going to drop money on them. They've got money to burn. They just print more. That's how their economy works. That's why Trump went to trade war with them, is because they were devaluing their own currency in order to jack ours up. Overinflate us. Gold standard, people. Gold standard. But yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I bring that up, is because I'm afraid that there's outside monies that or just money that's going to bail them out, and they're not going to learn their lesson. We need a couple of these big companies to just go out of business. And then they'll say, hey, maybe we need to start giving people what they want to watch.
That's what we need. Good stuff. All right. Tell me if you hear this. Y'all hear that?
Yep.
All right. Let's have a little bit of music. And after that, we'll go into where you can be found. We'll go around the horn. We'll listen to this here song first. There we go. Crazy clown world, music from another land. Light and sound, surrounded by light. I've got my finger on the pulse. Curators of reality, they have no personality. Music from another land, light and sound in the dark of night. You're not alone, make your own reality. Be the monks in your life, protect mythos and mythologies. In a story for story's sake, the writing's on the wall, the band's playing. Crazy clown world, music from another land. Light and sound, surrounded by light. I've got my finger on the pulse. The curators of reality, they have no personality. Music from another land, light and sound in the dark of the night. You're not alone, make your own reality. Be the monks in your life, protect mythos and mythologies. In a story for story's sake, the writing's on the wall, the band's playing. Crazy clown world from another land, light and sound, surrounded by light. I've got my finger on the pulse, the curators of reality, they have no personality. Music from another land, light and sound in the dark of night. You're not alone, make your own reality. Be the monks in your life, protect mythos and mythologies. In a story for story's sake, the writing's on the wall, a band's playing. Crazy clown world, music from another land, light and sound surrounded by light. I've got my finger on the pulse, the curators of reality, they have no personality. Music from another land, light and sound in the dark of night. You're not alone, make your own reality. Be the monks in your life, protect mythos and mythologies. In a story for story's sake, the writing's on the wall, the band's playing. Crazy clown world from music from another land, light and sound surrounded by light. I've got my finger on the pulse. Crazy clown world, music from another land, light and sound surrounded by light. don't you go ahead and tell them where you can be found, what you're up to, and your most latest video or project happening? From the bottom up, of course.
Show?
I guess it would be me. YouTube, Twitter, Shellback TJC. I don't have anything like particularly brand new, but last couple of things I've done is one of them is reading stories from a Star Wars EU book called Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. And I read the first one, which tells how the famous Cantina band came to be in the employment of the Cantina. And when I get around to reading the second story, it's about Greedo. So I'm assuming it's going to be going, up to the point to where he meets up with Han Solo. I'm not going to swear to it, but I'm guessing that's where that story is going to end up.
And that story is before the whole Han shot first controversy. So
yeah, well, Han shot. That's it. I mean, yeah, I know. I love the special editions just about as much as I do the original, theatrical version. But yeah, it's,
to me, that's a little thing that don't matter. I'm just saying
yeah.
that if you expect, it was written before all those changes were made. So
yeah,
it's been a very long time since I've read it. But it goes from that point of view, not from the after the special editions were
right.
made.
I mean, my thing with the special editions is, I liked, even though some people are annoyed by it, I like the extra long musical number, at Jabba's palace, and the extra scenery that we got in Mos Eisley. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. Next.
It's awkward. Well, I am StoryMan-Jack. I write stories. I have a story workshop on how to write. Currently, I'm writing a lot of Halloween horror stories. I have a whole playlist. You can check them out. I have a Frankenstein story, a vampire story, a zombie story, a werewolf story, and a haunted house story so far. I'm doing a demon story next. It should be up in the next couple of days. And they're anywhere from 40 minutes from 15 minutes to about 40 minutes in length. I read them myself, and the voice acting isn't very good. But a lot of them are kind of backstories for a novel that I'm working on that I'll be also uploading. And you can find that at StoryMan-Jack. You can also follow me at Twitter at just look up StoryMan-Jack or George Big Dick Lucas. And you can email me at info@storymanjack.com.
All right. And of course, you can all find everyone on the panel that's been on this channel in the info below. And I wanted to take a moment to thank Thomas Gilkey for retweeting out and asking everyone to support me in this channel and those that come on the panel. Thank you, Thomas. You're awesome, brother. You're awesome. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Much love to you. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and go into another catchy tune, and then after that, we'll say adieu. The wolves are gathering around, line the queues, turn the lights down. Normies and paper cowboys, wolves gather around, fatal attractions and their distractions. Don't cancel the movie, don't cancel me. Don't cancel the popcorn. All the bellicose in the cellulose line you turn the lights down. Are you ready for the greatest picture show? Let's get to it, let's do it. Don't you blow it, get to it. Careful what you sow, put a little bow on it. Get to it, what's a little package? Why that is a little package. Going to the picture show, so nostalgic, it was heraldic. Speaking of something told, was it foretold? Was it foreshadowing? Chattering, it's all that matters. You know it's a picture show. Interconnecting, never disconnecting. Saving the world one song at a time. Saving the world one song at a time. Saving the world one song at a time. Wolves gather around, line the queues, turn the lights down. Normies and paper cowboys. Paper cowboys. Wolves gather around, fatal attractions and their distractions. Don't cancel the movie, don't cancel me. Don't cancel the popcorn. All the bellicose in the cellulose line the queues, turn the lights down. Are you ready for the picture show? Let's get to it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Don't you blow it. Don't you blow it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Careful what you sow. Careful what you sow. Bow on it. Get to it. Quite a little nice package. Go to the picture show. So nostalgic, it's heraldic, speaks of something told. Was it foretold, or was it foreshadowing? Cut the chattering, it's all that matters. You know it's a picture show. Interconnecting, never disconnecting, saving the world one song at a time. The world one song at a time. Good night.
Good night.